Ira, how was your
All
night
right.
going?
Good, good. How was your New Year's? Everything good? Everybody healthy?
Everything was good. My family's doing well. Hope your family's doing well, enjoying the new year. I know as a Jet fan, we didn't close it out the way we wanted to, but we can only hope for the best in the near future as we do hold the number 4 and 10th pick in this year's upcoming 2022 NFL draft.
I agree. I would agree. But it's funny when you say it didn't finish out the way we hoped to. I I kind of look at it a little differently. Listen, I know they didn't win many games, but when you look at the first half of the year, I'm going to go up until that Patriot blowout by 50 points. In late October when
Oh,
Wilson got hurt. Okay, and then you had those couple of blowouts with the Bills and the Colts. But once Zach came back at the Houston game, they and listen, they had their moments. The coaching staff made mistakes. The 4th and 2 against the Bucks. Everything we spoke about all year.
mhm.
You know, um, they did make some progress, and the most important thing I take out of it, I jotted it down earlier this morning. Zach's first 6 games, he threw four touchdowns and 9 interceptions. His last 7 games, so this is Houston until yesterday, and yesterday they were just totally manhandled.
Yeah.
He had no receivers. But if you include yesterday's game, he had 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Mhm.
And to me, that's progress.
Yeah. I agree. And yesterday you mentioned the manhandling up in Buffalo. It was almost unwatchable at times. And the amount that he just backed up, I still think he has to figure out a way to get the ball out quicker and get rid of it because we saw what happened when he got sacked. But that's also, he's not getting enough time of protection.
Yeah, part of it is on that. I think a lot of it was because receivers weren't getting open. Also, I just looked at the snap count. They didn't, which is this is what I mean about the coaching staff. Um, look, Floyd's done a better job. He's gone upstairs, but Yaboa all of a sudden makes some catches against the Bucks last week.
He did.
You saw the guy could play. Why did he get 3 snaps yesterday? I mean, you're down all your tight ends. All you had was Croft. You couldn't run the ball because you didn't have the extra tight end in. You couldn't use McDermott as an extra lineman because they don't trust the Doga. So it was very puzzling. And like I said, they weren't putting up 24 points on the Bills. I
No,
get that,
no.
but it's just everything they did offensively up until yesterday. It's like I know they were limited. All the top 4 receivers were around. I get all of that. It was a makeshift offensive line, but it just I was scratching my head. It was hard to watch, but on the other end, and I've been all over Ulbrich, and I've been crying about the defense all year.
Oh, yeah.
They played their best defensive game of the year
They did. I was
yesterday.
surprised that they held him for as long as they did up until after halftime.
Well, they actually, with 8 minutes to go, it's a 13-10 ball
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
I think the Bills punted 7 or 8 times, and they didn't punt in their last 3 games.
Yeah.
So, so it was like a weird game because I don't know where that defense. Now I know I read some of the comments. I think it was C.J. Mosley. It was Price not because of the blowout earlier, which I do agree because I do believe Price plays a lot in football games.
Hmm. Yeah.
Especially, I never like to play a team for the second time if they got blown out
No.
because chances are, and you saw it yesterday. I mean, statistically, and the score is not indicative of how that game was played. I thought the Jets defense played their hearts out yesterday.
They did. Now, do you think that is a testament for Robert Saleh? Is this the defense that we've been waiting to see all year? Do you feel as though that he finally put the gas on and there was no brakes?
No, I think this was strictly a pride thing.
Hmm.
The players admitted it was a pride thing. I don't think the scheme changed. I mean, maybe Ulbrich maybe blitzed a little more than normal, but at the end of the day, it's the same players that have been giving up 200 yards that came running. I mean, they still gave up 100. I mean, you know what they did? They played bend and don't break
Hmm.
yesterday. They gave up over 400 yards. You know, they gave up 170 plus yards on the ground. But in the red zone, they held them to a couple of field goals. And I mean, really, the Bills didn't break the game open until it was like late fourth quarter.
Yeah, then you knew what was going to happen from there when they had
Of
started having
course,
the deep throws. We knew that the game was turning for the worst. But there
of
was a
course.
feeling in that fourth quarter that you brought up when the game was close that I felt as though, hey, this is 2015 all. This could be 2015 all over again. Watch the Jets maybe spoil them, but then the breakout plays happened, and that was never going to happen from there.
Well, when that guy, what did the Jets block the punt, or the guy fumbled the snap and
Hmm.
couldn't get the punt off?
When
I
they were
forget how
down
that.
at the 20-yard line.
Right, and when that happened, and when we got the ball, I called up Joe and Beningo, and I said, Joe, we're going to win this game. He
Yeah.
said, Oh, bro, let me see them score here. And of course they couldn't. They got the field goal, which I think that made it 13-10 at the time. But if they had gone up 14-13 at that point, I'm saying to myself, man, oh man, the way this defense is played, all the pressure on the Bills, they may figure out a way to win this
Yeah.
game.
And it would have
That's
been
crazy.
it would have been sweet revenge for what happened to us back in 2015 with that season. I wish that we could have
Oh,
reciprocated, but
absolutely.
uh, that's still one of the most heartbreaking losses for me as a Jet fan, as well as for you, because you were at the game and you remember that exact spot. Every time you go to sit, you look at that spot where Fitzpatrick
Where
was picked off in the end zone.
McKelvin picked off, he steps in front of Decker, and it's like burnt into my memory.
Yeah.
I walk into that, walk into that stadium, and I see that. I see the play.
Oh,
I mean, it's how many years later? 7, 8 years later.
yeah.
And every time I walk into that stadium, I see that play. It's incredible.
Oh,
It's absolutely. It's like we're watching the Victor Cruz play every year. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, from Christmas Eve. We can't get that one out of our heads either. And there was progress with Zach Wilson, 100%. I think he is our quarterback. I remember last time I talked to you, I was a little bit doubtful about that because I just want to win so bad. And we all advocated for Wilson, but there were some times there when he had that back interception and in all the games before the Texan game, there were some issues there. But Zach has come along well. Now it's all about getting playmakers around him. I do think that they're going to need a number one wide receiver in the offseason. I really want to see a number one target, someone with a big build and a tight end, because I think a tight
Well,
end would really be that security blanket for Zach.
well, they do. They do. They desperately need a tight end, and it's funny, like you said, the 4th and 10th pick.
Mhm.
You may see our 2 first-round picks playing in tonight's game, and I'm not a big college guy. I watch tape of players I want to see, but I really don't invest time in games.
No.
But I'm going to watch a little tonight because you got that linebacker from Georgia.
Hmm.
And maybe with the 10th pick, maybe they take that kid Williams, the receiver from Alabama. I
Maybe.
mean, he might be the best receiver in the country.
He might
You
be.
know, and as much as they got to revamp the defense, you know what? If that kid's sitting there at 10, and I clearly don't see Douglas going out and spending money on a wide receiver again. Not after they spent money on Corey Davis.
No.
But if they get a kid like that kid from Alabama, Williams, you add him to Davis and Elijah Moore, and if they could re-sign Berrios, that's a really good receiving core.
Oh, I
You
agree
know,
with you on that. And I wish they re-signed Berrios earlier, and we missed Berrios' spark plug yesterday in yesterday's game. It's clear that the Jets need this guy on the team, and the fact that they haven't extended him yet drives me insane because with Jonathan Franklin Myers, they signed him in no time. They extended him to that large deal, and he hasn't done anything.
nothing. I know that was the most bizarre thing, and like I may be wrong, but I think they put money into Myers because they have no intentions of giving Quinn and Williams a big deal yet. I think they're going to let him play this year and then maybe franchise him the year after. And I don't have an issue with that. But to be honest with you, and no disrespect to C.J. Mosley, I think Quinn and Williams' brother, Quincy Williams, I think he might be the best defensive player or the most disruptful defensive player on the team.
100%. I said that earlier this year too. His brother is better than him, who we drafted in the first round.
I know. How crazy is that?
Ugh. But I was reading online the mock drafts already, and they're saying that we could potentially target Stingley out of LSU if you were reading the mock drafts already. I know that's a
I
high target.
Yeah, no, I know. A lot of people are talking about that. It's a funny thing. I could almost. I don't think Salah and Douglas want to put high resources into secondary.
Hmm.
Salah clearly is a front seven guy.
Yeah.
So if they're going to spend money or use top choices, it's going to be for the front seven on defense or even the offensive line. Okay. Um, I think I saw enough from Hall and from Eccles where I would bring in a veteran free agent. I wouldn't break the bank, but I would bring in one to compete with Eccles.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hall solidified that he could be a starter for sure. And then Michael Carter, the defensive back, he's another guy. He made a tremendous pass breakup. I forget what play it was. They did a really nice job yesterday. I think they're good there. I think they need to upgrade at safety. I think you could probably make the argument they need two new starting safeties.
Mm-hmm.
I think they definitely need at least one starting linebacker.
Yeah.
And you know what? Once again, I mean, who knows how Carl Lawson's going to be coming back from injury. If they could get their hands on a pass rusher, you got to grab them. So I think they're really. It's funny now that you see Douglas. This will be his third draft he's going into. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. You could see now his vision of what he was trying to do. So he made the trades. He got the capital. He has the cap space. He found the quarterback. He put some pieces in place. Elijah Moore, the two Carter kids, even this Pinnock kid. It looked like he may be a player. I'm probably leaving out a couple. But if he hits it right in the draft this year, and he hits it right in free agency, with the right pieces, I'm not going to accept a 5-6 win season next year.
No.
They got to be a 7, 8, 9. Let's put it this way: the last 2 weeks of next year, they got to be playing for something meaningful.
I agree. I want to see competitive football, and it was just amazing to watch the game last night. I was watching the Raiders and Chargers game. I'm sure that you were. And
no.
You didn't?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
I was watching that game, and I said that. Why can't the Jets ever be like this, fighting for a position? We have to wait 10 years and just all these years among years. And, the fans deserve better. They really do.
Of course they do. Of course they do. And once again, I go back to, I think the biggest mistake that Woody Johnson made was firing Tannenbaum, and leaving Rex to basically get hooked up with it. It should have been both gone, or they should have given Tannenbaum and Rex one more year. And I really truly believe that the two of them would have got the ship straightened out, and they would have got them back on track. I really do believe that. And instead, you know what happened in 13 and 14. They just tore it down. It was a disaster. McCagnon hit the one big year in 15, but then that thing fell apart. And now, Douglas is picking up the pieces. And, really, when you really look at the organization since that Victor Cruz game, so you want to go to the 0-12 year until now, up until this past draft that Joe Douglas had, because the 2020 draft, if Becton doesn't get back on the field, that 2020 draft is a bust.
Yeah. Except
for Bryce Hall, okay? This is 10 years of accumulating bad draft picks. And, I just had this conversation, I think it was Saturday during the game. Do you realize in 0-12, within 6 draft picks, they had their choice of Quentin Cobles, Melvin Ingram, and Chandler Jones, and the guard, David DeCastro, who's an all-pro guard for the Steelers. So out of those 4 players in 6 picks, they could add any one of those 4. They take the one guy, Cobles, who turns out to be a bust.
And didn't they end up trading him? I believe they traded him eventually.
I think they traded him actually to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think. But it's just, but that's why the Jets are in the position that they are, right now, where they had to do a total rebuild. It's because that 10-year period of just continuously drafting the wrong players or getting the wrong free agents and not having the right coach. And you know what? I have my concerns with this coaching staff. I'm going to give Michael LaFleur a pass. I think he improved as the year went on. I think Salah was a rookie. I think he's going to hopefully learn from some of his mistakes. Earlbrook, the defensive coordinator, I'm, I'm not too quite sure of. But I think going forward, I think that at least we're headed in the right direction. I think.
We can only go up from here. I mean, can we get any lower? At least we're not as low as the Giants, but I mean, the
Oh,
Giants,
what a disaster!
I mean, they didn't even get rid of Judge, but how about the Dolphins getting rid of Brian Flores? I couldn't believe that.
I was stunned this morning because I think he's a really good coach.
He is.
So, so I don't know what happened over there.
Ugh.
I really don't understand that. Um, I know Zimmer was let
Yeah.
go. Who else? Nagy got
Nagy
let
from the Bears,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, not that I'm going to worry about the Giants, but if they don't get rid of Judge, they're going to make the same mistake the Jets did. They're going to, give him a GM that probably doesn't want him. Bring back the Daniel Brown, Daniel
Daniel
Jones.
Jones. Yeah, it might as well be
Right,
Dave Brown.
Dave Brown.
They both went to Duke.
Yeah, it's like a disaster. But
Yeah.
that's their problem, not mine. But
No.
I like the direction potentially where we're headed. If it'll work yet, I don't know, but it does look a lot more promising than it has been at least the last couple of years.
Mhm. Is now, say at the end of next year, we're in the same position. Do you think the Jets let go of Salah? Do you think it's 2 years, and if you don't prove anything yet, you're out? Or do you think they may give him a third year? What's your take on that?
I think it all depends on what happens with the quarterback.
Mhm.
I think if they win their 5, 6 games, it depends how it looks. It depends who they beat. But if the quarterback is playing, getting better, you can't cut bait on the head coach yet
No.
because I think they're tied at the hip. And I think, you know what, in Donald's defense, and it turns out, that he's a mediocre quarterback at best. I think that's, besides that, they threw too much at him early. I think the mistake was he did improve the last 4 or 5 games of the year. And they got rid of Bowles, and then they stuck him with Gase.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a mistake, as bad as Bowles was at the time, because I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I think he's going to get another shot as head coach. I think because Donald was making progress, they should have just left things alone and rolled it back one more year with Bowles. And I think that's if they have a below 500 season next year and things aren't getting any better, as long as the quarterback continues to improve, I think that would save Salah's job.
Mm-hmm. I think it all depends on Wilson as well. I hope we see some more progress next year. I think we will, as long as they get some upgrades for him. I know Douglas actually said at the conference today that he would even be willing to make some trades for proven players. Now, this is very new because we're not used to Douglas making trades, especially for big-time players. I would love to see a proven wide receiver come in here through a trade or just any position that we need to fill right now.
Well, you got to remember something, and I've been saying this all along. Once again, no disrespect to Douglas. He's entering his third draft, his fourth year as a GM. Okay, his win-loss percentage is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, and you're on a 6-year deal, he's not the only one. It happens to all GMs. All of a sudden, the noose gets a little tighter around your neck. And then you start doing things that you're not really comfortable doing, like either spending more on free agency or, like you said, now he's open to trading for players. So I think you're going to see a little bit of, I'm not saying he's going to go on a wild spending spree,
No.
but I do believe that you'll see a different approach acquiring players this year that you haven't seen from him in the first 3 years.
As long as it's the right deal and we don't give up an absurd amount of picks, I would like to get a DeAndre Hopkins, that type of deal. I think, what was that, a third-round pick that the Cardinals got for DeAndre Hopkins?
That was like nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was pretty cheap.
If you could make a move like that, I would totally do it if I was Joe Douglas.
As long as you think that, they're better than whatever type of receiver you could possibly get or any
Yeah.
other position in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, preferably, I would still continue to try to build through the draft.
Hmm.
But, like you said, if you could get, you get a Pro Bowl player, the only trouble with that is they got to be on the other side of 27 years old.
Hmm.
Adding a 30-year-old or older player here that's a proven player, he's probably not going to be, when you're ready to be knocking at the door, he's probably not going to be part of the equation.
Yeah.
Of
No.
course, let's face it. I mean, the Jets are really not knocking in any type of title games for another couple of years.
Yeah.
They may be competitive next year, maybe get a wild card, but I certainly don't expect to see them in the divisional round or the AFC Championship
No.
game next year.
No, I don't expect that either. I'm sure other Jet fans don't. But if there's any right trades that can be made out there, I would do it if I was Douglas. And like you said, it has to depend on age, because if they're too old, then they're not going to be part of that equation. And I just think that we should bring anyone that's under, like you said, 27. I think that's the perfect time frame for age.
Right, absolutely, because they're still in their prime. You still get a good solid 3 years, and if they turn out to be the player you want, you maybe could squeeze another year or two out of them, possibly.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how you feel about the offensive line, but George Font to me is your left tackle.
Yeah.
I don't care that they use the 11th pick on Becton.
Yeah.
And what I do, I bring back Morgan Moses
Hmm.
on a doable contract. And you know what? I let him and Becton compete at right tackle. You're going to hope that Becton wins that job. But at the worst, whoever doesn't, you got a swing man that could play either side as your backup.
Yeah. I agree with that tactic. And I was hearing earlier when I was looking through the Jets post-game coverage that Tardif, he may not be back next year because he wants to be a physician.
That's well, we're gonna have to wait and see. It's just I don't know. It just we're fresh off. It's so hard to really think about all the stuff the season just ended. You really got to sit down. You got to really reevaluate your staff, and you got to reevaluate your roster, and everybody goes away for 2-3 weeks right now, and then they come back, they regroup, they get ready for the Senior Bowl and all that stuff, and then they get ready. I guess whatever type of combine they're going to have, I guess they're going to have one. It depends on what's going on with this virus.
Oh. And Omicron is running rampant here.
Yeah,
all over.
It's all over the place. It's crazy. So I don't know how that affects that. But yeah, that's how I look at it. You got those couple of college all-star games. You got your free agency, and then you get your draft. And then, come the beginning of May, we're going to have a real good feel for what this team's going to be about. Mm-hmm. And, if he hits on the draft, I mean, you look at the draft this year, going under the assumption that Wilson's going to be a franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. So between Wilson, Moore, you got the two Carter kids, you got Pinnock. Am I leaving anybody out? That's a pretty good haul.
Yeah, he hit on those picks as far as we can see of what we've seen how they play in the season.
Absolutely. Now, the one critical thing I could be on Carter, the running back, mm-hmm. I think he's a really excellent, explosive player. But he has to learn to avoid taking big hits. Mm-hmm. And that's part of his game. He looks for contact. He likes to barrel over people, but he's small, and that's why he's always getting hurt. And you don't want that from him because he's not going to have a very long career playing that way. No. He's not Earl Campbell. He's not going to keep on barreling over people.
No, I agree with you on that. You're right. And it's going to be interesting who they bring back next year. Maybe Tevin Coleman to have as the backup back for him. Even Ty Johnson, too.
I look at the offensive side of the ball. the quarterback is, that's, not a question.
Yeah.
I think the running back group, like you just mentioned, I think is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think they're good.
Yeah.
Give Coleman another 1 year deal. I think Johnson's under contract. You have the Carter kid. Your receivers, okay, they have to add a receiver. The tight ends a must. You can maybe sprinkle in one offensive lineman, possibly. But I think most of the major work is going to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I agree. There's going to be a total makeover on that defense, and it's going to be interesting to see how Carl Lawson comes back next year with the injury. And I'm curious, did you go to the Buffalo game and the Tampa Bay game?
I was at the Tampa Bay game.
Okay.
Yes, yesterday's game, I had all intentions of going.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Delta flight canceled on me like 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So I rebooked it on United.
Mm-hmm.
And about a month ago, United canceled the return flight. And I said, you know what? It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going. And, I felt bad that I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
But under the circumstances, you know what? With between the weather, and I really didn't want to see those fans celebrating winning a division title. It actually worked out for the best.
Oh, the Buffalo fan base, the Bills Mafia. I think it was probably better off that you didn't go. But the Tampa Bay game, what's your take on the Eccles situation with him after he intercepted Brady and after they lost, going up to Brady after the game and had him sign the ball? I know many Jet fans were angry about it, but then there were some that were just feeling as though, hey, he intercepted Tom Brady and he just wanted the autograph because he did intercept him.
Yeah, well, you know what? In when I grew up, and then players play around, 30, 40, 50 years ago, they wouldn't have done that. But you know what? Players' mindset and times are different. He's a young kid. He got caught up in a moment. I personally, I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't. It was a big throw for the kid, and like I said, I don't like to see that stuff. But
Yeah,
it's a different world today. Players are on their Twitter accounts, when they're not on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insanity, but that's the world. It's everything. The whole world is different.
Yeah. Oh, and you saw Antonio Brown leave the field too. Since you were at that game.
I know. That was incredible. That was incredible. But you look at it. The last, like I said, ever since the Bills blowout. So I think they played the Texans the week after. They were in every one of those games in the fourth quarter. Now, you look at the score at the same game, and you look at I think it was 30-9. You look at the Eagle game, I think it was 33-17, 33-18, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But both of those games, too, early fourth quarter, it's one-score games.
Yep.
So they actually, and as bad as it looked at times, they played competitive football for the last 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
And the quarterback, you saw progress. The quarterback made strides where he got a little better. And you know what? The way we started to finish like that, even though there's not too many wins, I'm looking at that as a positive.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't as careless with the ball either. He protected it way more than he did. Yeah.
You know what? Even yesterday, I mean, the way that started out, I said, "Oh my goodness!" They're flinging the ball around here. I said, "This kid's good for 3 interceptions today."
Yeah.
But he actually, it was okay. He went his last 5 games without an interception. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it. In the Buccaneers game, the darts that he was throwing. I mean, if that's the Wilson that we can get every game, I think it's solidified that we have our franchise quarterback.
Well, the drive that impressed me the most in that game was the drive to make the score 24-10, because he hit 4 big-time passes in a row. I think one went to Cole, went to Yeboah, one went to Berrios, and that's the guy that we both envisioned, and I agree with you. Can you do that every drive? No, no quarterback can, But it shows you that his ceiling is very high. It's now he's got to put in the work. and the coaches got to coach them up the right way,
Hmm.
and the personnel department have to put the right pieces around them. And I think if each one of those departments could live up to what they're supposed to do, I think you will see a franchise quarterback.
I think so. In that 4th and 2 play, I'll never understood why they wanted to go QB sneak on that play. That's
Well, yeah, but you know what? Once again, listen, I was not happy with Salah and the floor afterwards, but it's part of the learning curve. Ultimately, there shouldn't have been a decision for him to make
hmm
because LaFleur should have known better. And Salah, who did say that the play was designed for Berrios, but they didn't make it clear that that's the only option. So that's a mistake the coaching staff made. But you give a kid like that an option, he made a mistake, and that's part of the learning curve. But once again, he shouldn't have been put in that position because
no.
he's so young and so raw. It should have been, this is a play no matter what. And, look at it defensively. Even though, it didn't work out, the defense still let them march 93 yards down the
Yeah.
field with no timeout. And the last play, I'll never understand the last play. Because, if they gave up a 7-yard touchdown pass, I get it. But to give up a 33-yard touchdown pass with 13 or 15 seconds left on the clock, why they didn't just have 4 men lined up across the goal line?
Yeah.
You let them catch the ball in bounds, you tackle the guy, the chances are they're never getting off another play and the game is over.
No.
So the defense deserves almost as much blame on the last play as the offense did on the 4th and 2.
Hmm. I agree with you on that, and we can only hope for the development to come. We saw it in the last few games that it is improving, and the defense looked as though that they improved in yesterday's game, even though we saw what happened at the end of the game when they started to get blown out. But there's going to be an upgrade in the offseason here with the draft and free agency. We're going to see what happens. But I do want to touch on this in the show, too. Rest in peace to the Hall of Famer,
Oh,
Don
I
Maynard.
know. I was really upset when I saw that. And it's really, you're way too young. I don't know if you've seen YouTube highlights of him or whatever, but he really was one of the best receivers to play in that era and going forward. And actually, that's what I was talking to Joe about. We were talking about Maynard. We were just reminiscing. And do you know in a 14-game schedule, I think it was 67,
Mm-hmm.
he had 1,400 yards receiving in a 14-game schedule. And I think for his career, I think he averaged 18.6 or 18.8 yards per reception. And that's when they played that game when they let defensive back hold receivers and play physical. It's not like today. So Don Maynard, let's put it this way: in today's game, Don Maynard would have been good, maybe 20 to 25 yards a catch.
But yeah, especially back then, like you said, in that defensive era. Whereas today, it's not a defensive league anymore.
No, I mean, these receivers they got killed when they came off the line of scrimmage. They're getting knocked down. They're getting held. I mean, the pass interferences weren't called the way they are now. Today, you sneeze on somebody, they throw a flag.
Yeah,
So,
he caught some key catches in Super Bowl III.
Oh, his biggest catch, his 2 biggest catches were against Kansas City Chiefs in the opener in 68, I think it was. He catches like some 70, 80-yard bomb to win the game. But the most famous one, and I'm sure you've seen this one in the AFC title game against the Raiders. The Jets are down. They're down 23-20. And, I guess they were on about the 25-yard line. The wind was ridiculous that day. And Namath throws this pass down the right sideline, and Maynard catches it on about the 5 or 6-yard line of the Raiders. And it was just an unbelievable catch. And that was probably his most famous catch because that led to the winning touchdown, which he did catch.
Yeah.
and the Jets won the AFC Championship game, and then they went on to beat the Colts. And we've been searching for another Super Bowl ever since.
Here's a great question. How did it feel to win as a Jet? Because I don't know if I'll ever experience it. I don't know. I hope I do. I think I will. I don't know when that will be, but how was it to experience the Jets winning a Super Bowl?
You want to know something?
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was exciting, but it didn't mean what it means today.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was Super Bowl III, it was still kind of new to people. People still didn't believe that the AFL was as good as the NFL. Of course, the Jets were the first AFL team to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And because that team was so good, you just took for granted. You got to remember that year, being a New York sports fan, it was Jets, Mets, Knicks.
Yeah.
All three teams won a title that year.
Yep.
So you kind of took it for granted. And Namath was there. The team, there was no free agents. There was no free agency back then. So basically, the entire team's coming back. So you figured, okay, go back again the following year. And then I don't know if you know, they played the Chiefs at Shea on a bitterly cold day, and they lose 13-6 to Kansas City, and they never got back. Everybody thought they were going back to the Super Bowl, but they didn't.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that in our first episode a while back. I remember we covered the history of the Jets. I remember we covered that game.
Oh, that was a terrible loss. Namath was on a 1-yard line,
yeah,
and they couldn't punch it in. Mm-hmm. And then the Chiefs get the ball, and they hit Otis Taylor with some 60-yard pass, and then the game was pretty much over.
Yeah.
But you can never take away that first Super Bowl because they were the first AFL team to do it, and I don't care if it's next year, I don't care if it's 15 years from now. That's something that's in the record books.
Yep.
That's something they'll always have.
Yeah, I agree. At least we have that one. There's teams that still haven't won a Super Bowl.
There you go. Hey, listen, I'll be happy if you get me to a wild card game next year, and they happen to win that game. I can't even imagine what that might feel like.
I wish I cherished those 2 AFC championship games more than I did, because I thought this was going to be a regular thing, that we were going to go to the playoffs again and again, because it looked like we had something going. And then after those 2 AFC championship games, it's been nothing but a nightmare. If you want to just go back right to the game against the Giants with the Cruz touchdown.
Well, and once again, I'm a Rex fan, I'm a Mike Tannenbaum fan, but I will hold this against them. That after that 2010 season, I remember they had the lockout. So camp started late, or they started on time, and then they finally got there. But I remember the Jets came to training camp, and you could just see that Rex and Mike Tannenbaum, and even the players, they took it just like fans. They took it for granted. Well, we got there 2 years in a row. Why can't we get there? We don't have to work as hard. And they stripped down the roster a little. But it was like they thought it was coming to them. They didn't, and we all know how it worked out.
Yeah. I hope that things get better in the near future here with the draft and free agency. I think that they do have something going here. It's going slowly but surely, but eventually, I think they have to make the playoffs here. The only way up is up, pretty much. You can't get any lower than it's been. I mean, it's been pretty low for years.
No. Now, I'm sure you know the schedule for next year.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's a little bit on the tough side, but nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You got to do what you got to do. For me, I'm way ahead of anything. It's probably stupid to even talk this way, but I think for the Jets to have a winning record and really be knocking on the door for a playoff spot next year, there's no two ways about it. They have to go 3-3 in the division next year. Yeah. Because, they got the AFC North, they got the Packers division, they got a really tough schedule. So somehow, some way, they got to figure out a way to win 3 division games next year.
They have to, in my opinion, I think they should sweep Miami, even though that may be hard because of their defense. And you never know what Miami is. They beat the Patriots yesterday, and the season that they had, that the past 2 seasons, they've actually surprised fans. And then the Bills, you know that they're tough, so you got to figure out about beating the Patriots probably once and possibly sweeping the Dolphins. I think that may be the best scenario.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you. And as a Jets fan, I think we got to really keep our fingers crossed that Deshaun Watson doesn't end up on the Dolphins. You really don't want that because we have enough competition right now in the division.
Yeah,
we don't. Who knows? Maybe Harbaugh becomes a coach of the Dolphins. I mean, I have no idea who they're going to bring in as a coach, but it's a tough division.
Yeah,
you got three already established teams, and you got the Jets, who I think are getting closer to being an up and coming team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for years to come, it's going to be a lot of fun in this division.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting when looking at the Dolphins situation with the Watson thing. I did hear that someone on the team, I don't know if it was the GM today or the owner, saying it was after the Flores that was relieved of his duties that they weren't going to be going after Watson. But I'm kind of I did hear that, but I'm curious because I when I watch Tua, there's games that I feel as though that he's their franchise quarterback, and Flores had something going there. He won all those games. So apparently, even though you may be proving something in Miami, it doesn't mean anything because you can get fired even if you have a decent winning record and you showed promise. It's just Miami. I think Miami is a worse organization than us because why would you fire a coach like that?
It makes no sense. They won 7 games in a row. They lost last week, and then they beat the Patriots yesterday. So they win 8 of their last 9 games, and they fire the head coach.
Yeah.
You know what that smells to me as?
What is it?
That the owner wants to bring Watson in, and Flores doesn't want any part of him.
Mm-hmm. I think he was fine with Tua.
Yeah, I think once again, I may be completely wrong, but to me, this smells of Flores wanted to go with Tua, and what's his name, Ross, the owner, either wanted to go with Watson or Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, when I watch Tua, I feel as though there's nothing wrong, and if I'm the Dolphins, even though they're not our team, I would stick with Tua because if Watson comes here, who knows what can happen with the things that he's going through. You don't need any more skeletons coming out of the closet and anything else. I would stick with what you have right now with the positivity with Tua. I mean, just keep progressing and making sure that he progresses and get the weapons he needs.
Yeah, that's a strange situation out of Miami. So, and once again, I assume Joe Judge hasn't been released or they said they're keeping him as of yet.
Yeah, around the league, they've said that it's confirmed he's going to be staying next year.
They did.
Yeah, I did read. I read some tweets online that they said that Joe Judge, it looks like he's going to be staying, and I thought that he'd be out the door with Gettleman, but Gettleman, he retired, and I don't know about Judge. It looks like he's staying as of now, and at least we're not the Giants, and we have to worry about that.
Boy, no, they're going to regret the day that they're doing this. Because basically, they're doing the Rex thing all over them.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been fun. It's been a good year.
Yeah.
And let's hope that it's going to be a better year on the football field and in the real world next year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe this time next year we'll be talking about a wild card game we got coming up.
I hope so. I'm praying for it. I hope it does happen. We deserve it. I hope that the Jets hit on all their draft picks and they pick up some key free agents. I'm sure we'll do another show once that comes around, probably around the combine or any time that there's any news that pops up.
Free agency usually starts about the second or third week of March.
Yeah,
if I'm correct.
Yeah, we could do.
So you know what? Not that I'm rushing away time, but before you know it, it'll be right here, and hopefully we'll be back on and talking about it.
Yeah, let's do it, Ira. Ira, anything else you want to let any of the listeners know here tonight? Anything you want to cover?
It's all good. You know what? Let me throw in the Super Bowl pick now that we're kind of narrowing it down.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Packers and I can't go Chiefs because that's too obvious.
Yeah.
So I'm going Packers, Tennessee.
I like that. I like those picks. Me, I think it's going to be Buccaneers Chiefs again. I feel as though it's just Tom Brady always gets his way, and Kansas City is just so dominant.
True.
Yeah.
that is true. But
I would love to see a Packers Tennessee Super Bowl, something different for once. I want to see a different Super Bowl and a different team win for once.
I know. I mean, it's funny. You know my position with the Patriots.
Yeah.
I actually have to root for them because of my nephew. But that really would be weird if you see a Bucs Patriots Super Bowl.
Oh.
That would that would be that they would have to make a movie about that because that's something that's just unbelievable.
They would, and I couldn't root for anyone in that Super Bowl game because I can't root for Brady because we have history with Brady, and I'm not going to be rooting for the Patriots because you still got Bill on the sidelines, and just the Patriots are just our arch nemesis.
Well, what would be so ironic if that actually went down is that I couldn't make it up that my sister would actually get to a Super Bowl game because of her son coaching the Patriots before I would get to a Jet Super Bowl game.
Oh, wow. Insane. You never know. It could happen. We almost got a Jet Giants Super Bowl in the 80s, and it could have happened in 86 if Gastineau didn't get that rough in the passer call against him in the Browns game. But
oh, my God. Well, I don't think there'll be any Jet Giants Super Bowls within 10 years. Let's say it this way. Maybe Salah will get the Jets to the Super Bowl, but you will not see a what's it called?
A Joe Judge.
And Joe Judge Super Bowl. No, that's not happening. There's like zero chance of it. But there's a better chance of you and I coaching the Giants in the Super Bowl than Joe Judge.
Yeah. It's very similar. This situation would be if the Jets decided to keep Gaze for a third year.
Yeah, basically it's the same situation.
It is.
Right. It's like bringing Donald back, and bringing Gaze back. It's the same situation. It's the same situation. Yeah, that's right. Because but Douglas was in play, so they would have had to get another GM.
Yeah,
it's just the whole. I feel sorry for the Giants. I don't really feel sorry, but they have no idea what they're in store for.
No, they have no idea because we felt this for years. So they're about to feel the wrath here.
Yes, they certainly are. Well, listen, always a pleasure,
yes,
and we'll talk before free agency.
100%. I'm looking forward to it. We'll keep in touch and let's hope that these picks. I hope your picks come true here. I would love to see that Super Bowl. Let's keep it entertaining, and we're not turning the game off by halftime like I did last year.
Yeah, well, that sounds good to me. Listen, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, Ira, stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
You got it, my man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Ira.
Bye-bye.